Hey, Orbitino, guess what I was just listening to? I was listening to our U.S. House Financial Services Committee hearing with SEC Chairman Gary Gensler and our 6th District Congressman Tom Emmer just grilled SEC Chairman Gary Gensler. Oh, it was just great. My God.
So who is Gary Gensler? I know of Tom Emmer, but only that he is a good guy.
All right. Just listen to this, Orbitino, okay?
Okay. So let's hear what this Gensler guy had to say.
From your perspective, is it more difficult now for the digital asset industry to access financial products and services in the United States than it was, say, 2 years ago?
Sir, I'm not running one of those businesses. If they came into compliance, I think
Reclaiming my time. The answer, sir, is yes. Do you think you and the SEC have had a role to play in that?
So what is Congressman Emer getting at?
So anyway, Orbitino, here's what Congressman Emmer is getting at. The SEC continues to not provide good clarity in the forms of regulations to the good players in the crypto industry, such as Coinbase, Kraken, and XRP, who they're suing, but continues to send out Wells notices, which is an enforcement action. Sure, it looks like they want to be in charge of the whole crypto industry, of which most of the, particularly Bitcoin and altcoins, probably Ethereum, like we talked about in an earlier post when we talked about the difference between Bitcoin and Ethereum. But anyhow, they just are confusing the industry, making it difficult for the good players in the industry to really comply with what the SEC is looking at, and they're sending out regulation or Wells notices, which again is an enforcement action. They should back off, let the CFTC monitor this industry and not destroy it here in the U.S.
So why is this Gensler guy and the SEC doing this?
Well, Orbitino, I'm not 100% sure, but it sure seems like the SEC, with their enforcement actions, is just driving the good players in the industry offshore because we're sure not giving good regulations. And of course, not everybody wants to invest in the cryptocurrency market, but if you want to, you should have the right, and the SEC should be protecting us against the bad players in the industry, like maybe Sam Bankman-Fried. That's kind of what I'm thinking.
So this is strange, and did the SEC send a Wells notice to Sam Bankman-Fried?
Interesting question, Orbitino. And here's another clip from the hearing with the SEC Chairman Gary Gensler.
My understanding is that the biggest crypto failure in history is probably FTX at $9 billion. Were you the chairman of the SEC when FTX collapsed?
Yes.
And how many times did you meet with FTX prior to their collapse?
I think my public record shows 2.
You met it with FTX at least twice, and arguably...
So that was the guy that started the exchange FTX and got kind of carried away and lost billions of exchange customers' money?
Yes, it appears to be that way, Orbitino.
So did Gary Gensler send a Wells notice to FTX?
Well, yeah, you're right. And anyhow, he met twice with him, and that was one of the big fallouts of the crypto industry. What do you think?
So you are telling me the chairman of the SEC, which is trying to regulate the crypto industry, is meeting with Sam Bankman-Fried, the founder of FTX. What were they meeting about?
Well, I'm not 100% sure, but maybe how to run a regulated exchange? Maybe.
This is way worse than Elon Musk pitching Dogecoin. We need to get rid of this guy and let this new emerging market evolve. This is just innovation and capitalism. Even a dog can figure that out. We will have the full questioning of Mr. Emmer with Chairman Gensler at the end of this post and a URL to the whole hearing in the description. So please view the content in its entirety yourself. Remember, this is not investment advice, only educational information, so do your own research and make your own decisions. But if you like what we are doing, please subscribe, like, and comment, and if you know anyone that may be interested, please share our link.
The gentleman from Minnesota, Mr. Emmer, is now recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you. Chair Gensler, I have a lot of questions and a limited amount of time, so if you could keep your answers to either a yes or a no, that will allow us to get through as many as possible, sir. From your perspective, is it more difficult now for the digital asset industry to access financial products and services in the United States than it was, say, 2 years ago?
Sir, I'm not running one of those businesses. If they came into compliance, I think
Reclaiming my time. The answer, sir, is yes. Do you think you and the SEC have had a role to play in that?
I think we have a role to protect the American investor and the capital markets and the
Reclaiming my time, sir. You have played an obvious role in that. During your tenure at the SEC, how many rules has the SEC finalized that actually accommodate the existing regulatory framework and are specifically to the digital asset industry so the crypto market can come into compliance?
It's their rule books that are on the books for years, so we have not finalized any new rule specifically with regard to crypto. We've proposed some things in best execution. We've also...
Sir, reclaiming my time, the answer is 0. And how many enforcement actions has the SEC levied against digital asset companies during your tenure, sir?
I think it's probably 40 or 50.
The answer, sir, is about 55. My understanding is that the biggest crypto failure in history is probably FTX at $9 billion. Were you the chairman of the SEC when FTX collapsed?
Yes.
And how many times did you meet with FTX prior to their collapse?
I think my public record shows 2.
You met it with FTX at least twice. And arguably, the second biggest crypto failure in history was Terra Luna. Who was the chairman of the SEC when Terra Luna collapsed, sir?
We had brought...
You were, sir. Reclaiming my time, you were. There are 5 members on the commission. Do you believe your speeches and interviews are to serve as the official position of the SEC?
I can only speak for myself when I'm speaking.
Again, sir, in a statement on the SEC website, you are quoted saying, "The Kraken staking as a service enforcement action should make clear to the marketplace that staking as a service providers must register." But again, you haven't provided any rules for how that can be done. I must remind you, your public statements are not regulations. It's not responsible to expect the American people to assume your statements are a substitute for rules. Do you agree with this statement regarding the digital asset industry? The SEC needs additional congressional authorities to prevent transactions, products, and platforms from falling between the regulatory cracks.
I think it's a largely non-compliant field. And
Sir, again, I asked you to comply with my questions, and I'm asking you if you agree with that quote. And I'm going to tell you, I'm quoting you from an August 3rd, 2021 article where you, and I believe you told Congressman Hill earlier that you need congressional authority to regulate stablecoins, and stablecoins happen to be a significant percentage of the crypto market. So the question is, when were you telling the truth? To Mr. Hill or to me? You've got to start answering these questions in a more transparent manner, sir. Does it concern you, by the way, that your approach to the digital asset industry is actually driving this industry out of the United States?
We're trying to drive it to compliance, and if they're not complying with the laws, then they shouldn't be offering their products.
Reclaiming my time. Madam Chair, I would like to enter into the record this Wall Street Journal article from April 14th, 2023, detailing China's ploy to open its banking system to crypto firms in an effort to seize an opportunity created by our hostile regulatory environment, which, Mr. Chair, you're a big part of.
Without objection.
Chair Gensler, FTX was domiciled abroad and so is Binance, yet American consumers still had access to both. You can't really think that pushing this industry abroad is going to protect American consumers when it hasn't several times in the past on your watch. You say the crypto market is rife with non-compliance. However, existing SEC rules make no sense for blockchain-based companies, and following them would actually kill these businesses. Your regulatory style lacks flexibility and nuance, and as a result, you've been an incompetent cop on the beat, doing nothing to protect everyday Americans and pushing American firms into the hands of the CCP. Your intention to work against SEC mission and put American investors in harm's way has been made very apparent, sir. It's been a year and a half since you've appeared before this committee. You need to answer to Congress about the issues that you've had with the SEC staff union, the work environment you've cultivated at the SEC that's led to hemorrhaging of senior staff, the intellectual inconsistency of your regulatory treatment towards Bitcoin spot ETFs, and your politicization of capital formation opportunities through your treatment of certain SPACs. And that's just to name a few. Thank you. I yield.